we are going to be discussing nucleic acid and protein synthesis, more specifically how DNA stores genetic information in the body. So, what is DNA? Have you ever wondered why your eyes are the colors they are or the texture of your hair are the way they are? So, you have probably heard of the term genes, but what does genes or genetic really mean? So, let's take a look at this picture, for example. If we were to zoom into this individual and take a look at her cells, we will see that each of her cells contains something called chromosome. And if we were to unravel each chromosome, we can see that it is made up of a very tightly packed strand of DNA. But what is DNA made up of? So today we are going to be talking about DNA and how this genetic structure is responsible for storing hereditary information. So DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and we can see in this photo that each strand of DNA is made up of nucleotides, and nucleotides are basically the building blocks that hooks together to form a chain of DNA. But how? So if you were to look here, each nucleotide is made up of a phosphate group and a sugar. Those are going to be on the sides. In the middle, you have a nitrogenous base. There are four different nitrogenous bases. So we have adenine, abbreviated as A, thymine, T, cytosine, C, and guanine is G. So each of these bases bond together to create a base pair. But is this a spontaneous pairing? It turns out that this is not a spontaneous pairing. Each of these nitrogen bases actually complementary one another through the shape. So each of them combine together. So in this case, A is complementary with T and G with C. They combine together through covalent bond known as phosphodiester bonds. So these bonds together to create a structure, and that turns into the structure of DNA. So as you know, each of the backbone of a nucleotide is going to be the same, so the sugar phosphate backbone. But what really is different is the pairing of the nitrogenous bases. And so the sequence of these four bases is what store instruction to build any living organism. So in a human genome, there are around 3 billion nucleotides that are divided up between 23 pairs of DNA molecules. And so given that there is endless amount of storage for storing genetic information, that turns out to make up your genetic features. So in 1950, Crick and Watson worked together to determine the structure of DNA at the University of Cambridge in England. And actually, fun fact, I had the chance to visit the university, and this is a picture taken outside of a pub, which is where they announced the discovery of how DNA carries genetic information. And this is a picture of me outside one of the laboratory that they used to do their research on the discovery of DNA.